Here's a hypothetical. Let's say you wake up one morning and realize that you didn't set your alarm. So you quickly get out of bed, rush into the shower, you don't even get your hair wet. You get to your car, rush over to the campus, and by the time you get there, you've already missed your first block class. Great start. But then you have your second block class, and lo and behold, there's a pop quiz. And it's on material that you didn't study on at all. So you spend the whole time looking at the quiz as if you know what's going on, but in all actuality, you have no idea what's going on. So by the time classes are over, you think to yourself, I finally have some free time because I don't have work today. A coworker calls you up to ask to see if you can cover his shift. And in a way, you're morally obligated to do so because he covered your shift the other day, so you cover his shift. And by an hour before closing, the boss comes up to you and says, I need all these papers filed before the end of the night. So you quickly get all these papers filed in as fast as you possibly can. And by the time you're done, it's already 2 hours past closing. Completely exhausted, you hope that you could just hit the hay once you get home. And you come home to discover that your roommate's dog has completely trashed the entire apartment. So all these events culminate into this giant migraine in your head, and that migraine just builds, and it builds, and it builds, and it builds. Just for one moment, just imagine that you can just step away from all that. That you can take a deep breath in and out. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the power of meditation. And throughout this presentation, hopefully, I will convince you all that the best method of maintaining our inner peace is through this particular practice, by describing the current emotional state of humanity in this day and age, as well as the many benefits that come from meditation and the physical, neurological altercations that it can create. Now here's the word of the day. Stress. I hate saying that word, you hate listening to that word, and so does all of America. According to a statistic done by the New York Times, over a course of 10 years, and in a trend that is increasing, by the way, and an average of about 55% of all Americans of all ages and demographics have said that they are stressed in their current state in their life. Now, we all know that life is hard, but there's an issue at hand here. The culmination of anger, worry, and stress, as we see on this chart, can lead into a much bigger issue known as our well-being and mental health. A statistic done in 2017, which is still relevant in this day and age, shows that the top 2 mental health disorders are those of anxiety-based and depression-based. Over 3.76% of the entire population of the world is diagnosed with some sort of anxiety disorder. Now, the way that we cope with this is through visiting doctors or therapists, and oftentimes these doctors will prescribe us prescription medications. Here's my issue with this, though. Prescription medications are sort of an unpredictable thing, where yes, it could definitely affect us in a very positive way. It could do absolutely nothing, and oftentimes it can completely mess things up and cause even more problems for our mental health. And on top of this, people that are diagnosed with these depression and anxiety disorders generally have sort of a self-reliance on these prescriptions, which in turn creates a very unhealthy relationship with the process of rehabilitation, as well as their coping mechanisms with their anxiety and depression. So why on earth should we take upon meditation as the alternative to our ability to cope with these stresses and anxieties in our daily life, as well as making sure that we don't have, in the long run, some sort of mental health issue? Here's the catch. Meditation is completely free. It doesn't cost a dime. You can do it anywhere, at any given place, any given time. You don't need a therapist or a doctor to refer you anything for it. And on top of this, not only does it give you a healthier relationship with yourself, but also with your ability to cope with those daily problems and stresses in your life. Let's look at some facts here. Generally speaking, when we think of meditation, we think of the guy on the left of the screen, a Buddhist monk, right? Now, Buddhist monks practice something known as transcendental meditation, which is a much more formal way of saying meditation, but in a much more disciplined manner. Now, they practice this every single day of their life. And studies have shown upon observing people such as the Buddhist monks that they have these particular characteristics in comparison to the average person. Firstly, they have a much lower blood pressure. They have a higher blood circulation, which is important because that means there's more blood going in and out of the body into the brain. On top of this, they have a higher concentration level, higher ability to analyze and to perceive information, a higher retention of both long and short-term memory, and they have a much freer flowing means of their intuition and creativity. Which, that statistic is kind of interesting, because I'm not entirely sure how they measured that, but nonetheless, that sounds amazing. Now, let's look at things through a neurological standpoint. Michael Bain, who is a physician, took upon himself for an entire year to meditate every single day. Now, what we see on the screen are x-rays of his brain from the pre and post results. Now, in comparison, it's kind of hard to see any differences, but there is something very significant going on here. The meditation brain has a lot more activity in the frontal lobe and the area around the amygdala. And now what Bain suggests is that a meditation brain puts itself through a major workout. It's like a P90X for the brain, where there's a higher level of metabolic processes going into the brain, which is essentially means that it's higher metabolism. And we know when we work out, our metabolism increases. So in conclusion, what Michael Bain has discovered is that not only does meditation affect our mind, but it can physically change the way our mind works. This is incredibly important, because if we realize that meditation can allow us to tap in to the way our mind works, we can utilize that as a means of creating a way so that we can cope with the daily stresses and anxieties of our life, completely negating or nullifying their effects. This is some incredible information. Now, to close all this into one small package, I implore you all to take on this challenge. 30 minutes a day for an entire week. Just 30 minutes a day. Take some time aside yourself, away from your friends, your work, school, whatever distraction there may be. And close your eyes, take some deep breaths in and out, and participate and engage in the practice of meditation. And perhaps you can realize that you can capture, over time, a snapshot of your brain slowly changing the way that it physically works. And by doing so, the next time you come home and see that your roommate's dog is completely trashed in the apartment, you can take in that stress that you would normally get from that and completely negate those effects through the practice of meditation. Thank you very much.